You know, I just went through and recorded this whole video and then realized I wasn't mic'd up. All right, let's start over here. Hey folks, over on the bench, a few episodes back, I built this Raspberry Pi Pico breakout board. And this all revolves around the software-defined radio macro keyboard controller that we're building. And Chris and I kind of went back and forth on the idea, build out concepts, and we kind of came up with this, while simple, is not permanent, and it's set for failure. In other words, vibration over time could theoretically loosen the screw and it could come out. This adds a lot more soldering, a lot more complexity to the project. We wanted it to be, a little more simple for somebody with minimal skills to build. So in another video, I showed you guys that Chris sent me a whole kit of this proto board. We looked through it. I played with a couple, did some soldering. It works great, but to build if you think about a breadboard, right? We have a positive rail, a negative rail, and then our pin contact rails, and another power rail. To duplicate this power rail function, we need to strip a 24 gauge wire, pin it down, solder it in place. That's one method of doing it. And then come back and snip these off. So that now forms our rail. We can go right next to it or skip a gap, build a negative rail, same concept. The other one is you take a Dremel or sanding stick and strip back the PCB a little bit, rough it up, and you can then run a bead of solder as well to create that rail. Again, too much soldering. It's a skill set that not everybody's going to have or feel comfortable doing, but we both like the breadboard concept. Another viewer messaged me via Facebook and told us about Adafruit Perma-Proto, which I had not seen. I don't know how this escaped my view, but it did. It is essentially a breadboard crossbred with a proto board. So we have the exact same pinouts and layouts as a breadboard, but in a permanent proto board style. So another evolution to the project. This is what we're building on. We're going to, again, although I may use female headers on the board, we'll just do it this way for the general concept to show you what we're going to do. Right? This is going to be built up just like the breadboard. Before I go too far, let me overlay a picture of where the breadboard itself is at right now. And you can see the switch layout, the rotary encoder, and etc. Yeah, we're just going to expand on that, but in a permanent form factor on the breadboard, the proto board. Yeah, but the idea is, as we talked about, this, because we pull the rail high, we pull the pins high, we bring a positive up to this rail, and then I can just come back and solder in, our positive right there, bring our negative for the switch to the appropriate pin, solder it in place. I'm trying to hold these in, and now our switch is hooked up to the appropriate pin and to the rail. Yeah, you can bring the switch low, but anyway, beyond the scope of just building this. Yeah, and that's the way we're going to build that. So I will start on that video pretty soon, hopefully within the next day or so, and then get it out a few days after that. Another question came about how am I going to mount this? Because I was talking about all of these loose switches and everything. What was the best way to mount them? In one video, I showed that wooden, it was a gift box. I don't even remember what came in it, but it was a real nice box. And I thought about staining it and drilling the holes. But then it's, how do you get a neat grid? You know, that's, again, we're trying to do this average builder. Looking through my stuff the other day, I actually have a napkin holder from, I believe, yeah, from Walmart. It was in my junk box. This was something I intended to use in the van. But look, we have 4 rows of 7 pins per side, if you wanted to get really cool. Yeah, so that gives us perfect mounting position for our switches, our rotary encoder. Yeah, I mean, it may end up that I cut off one side of this to give me an L shape to mount to that, or inside that, or over the edge of that wooden box. And then I can just cut the wood slightly back so that this is flush with the wood and then everything else is inside the box. Might make it kind of retro, steampunky, futuristic. But yeah, so that was it. And that's the main idea. Again, you could just use a tub if you wanted. But yeah, you don't have to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on fancy boxes or go have a box machined. Take a look around. Go walk around in the grocery store. Again, this came from Walmart. It's just a napkin holder. But it gives us a nice, perfect little grid. Anyway, that's kind of where we're at now. We are switching from the, where did it go? The Proto board to a Perma-Proto board. So thanks to viewer Mike for that one. Mike was the one that pointed us to the Adafruit Perma-Proto board. And they make several different sizes. One was a little, I think, a 20 pin. And then they had the 30 pin and then the full size. But I'll put a link to all this stuff down in the description for today's episode. And there's the Proto board. So we get the benefits of a Proto board with the advantages of a breadboard layout, which makes it much, much simpler to build. All right, guys. See you soon.